young adult women like me, anytime an adult male is around or them young males, and go put some clothes on, man. You get what I'm saying? My mama just pulled up to the house with her old man. Okay, boom. I said, wait a minute, mama. Tell him to stay outside. Let me go put on some pants. I just had on like some little shorts, some little, like volleyball types. I'm just letting y'all know that because a lot of times y'all are not even aware. It's not that that man has a pedophilia spirit on him or anything like that. None like that. It's just that you shouldn't feel comfortable, like as a woman, at some point to be walking around like with the short stuff on, titties out and stuff like that, like how y'all be. And then that don't mean that a person should do something to you. I'm just telling you, at some point, your mindset has to mature to the point of you realizing this ain't the right type of setting for me to be dressed like this. So let me go put on some clothes.
No, I don't have to appease other people to deter them from their inability to have self control. What I am wearing, or the lack thereof, is not a justified reason for someone to be excused or pardoned for their criminal choices. Them committing a crime is a them problem. What I was wearing or the lack thereof is never a free pass or excuse to violate me.
Young adult women like me, anytime an adult male is around or them young males, and go put some clothes on, man.
Interesting. Uh, Women, you girls, have to go put on clothes because these ones who are able to vote and own property and make decisions and choices and be in authority figures and positions, they somehow are incapable of exercising a conscience in the knowledge of right and wrong. Somehow what one is dressed in is somehow a caveat excuse for their choosing to be a criminal. No, it's not an excuse. No, I'm not going to change what I'm wearing because mommy's boyfriend doesn't know how to not be a predator. Maybe she should get a better boyfriend. Maybe she should get an actual husband and stop bringing that sorry son of a bitch around me and the kids.
You get what I'm saying? My mama just pulled up to the house with her old man. Okay, boom.
And apparently, her mother's old man is not a man of any good character because she has to have this mentality, whereas she needs to cover herself to prevent or deter a possible sexual assault.
I said, wait a minute, mama. Tell him to stay outside. Let me go put on some pants. I just had on like some little shorts, some little, like volleyball types. I'm just letting y'all know that because a lot of times y'all are not even aware. It's not that that man has a pedophilia spirit on him or anything like that.
The good old handy dandy religious deflection tactic, whereas putting it upon a spiritual issue rather than just addressing it. This man has a problem, has an issue with being a responsible, accountable adult in a healthy relationship with his supposed spouse. And rather than having the character that is required for him to be in such a relationship, it has become this issue whereas women or girls or people having to feel uncomfortable in their own skin and attire, and they must acquiesce to allegedly deter being sexually assaulted. They have to change what they're dressed in order to prevent a sexual assault because there's such a lack of accountability, responsibility towards who is supposedly an adult man that is able to vote, that is able to own property, able to have sexual relationships, so on and so forth.
None like that. It's just that you shouldn't feel comfortable, like as a woman, at some point to be walking around like with the short stuff on, titties out and stuff like that, like how y'all be.
I love how it became a y'all problem. She's going over her changing out of her volleyball shorts. No, this is a you problem, not a y'all problem. Women can wear, people can wear whatever the fuck they want to wear. It still doesn't justify somebody sexually assaulting them. That's the point I'm making is there's never a legitimate or valid reason for a grown ass man or woman to sexually assault someone.
And then that don't mean that a person should do something to you. I'm just telling you, at some point your mindset has to mature to the point of you realizing this ain't the right type of setting for me to be dressed like this. So let me go put on some clothes.
The key words that stuck out to me were maturity and setting. saying, oh, well, the woman needs to have a mature mindset to know that this is not the setting to wear whatever she wants to wear. Excuse me, women are who birth the population. So that's one. Number two, an inability to address the problem properly. The problem is not what one is wearing, the problem here is a lack of self control. Okay, so when people are able to vote and own property and have all these privileges and rights and so on and so forth, then they are entitled to and obligated to be held accountable and responsible for their criminal behavior. Because if he is supposedly grown enough to be in a relationship with another woman, then he is supposed to have already mastered the ability to keep himself in check, not being given an excuse as to why it's okay for him to be a predator, meaning that he's a grown adult man. He's supposed to have enough respectability and maturity so as not to prey upon his spouse's children.
Young girls, when y'all become teenagers and young adult women like me, anytime an adult male is around or them young males, and go put some clothes on, man. You get what I'm saying? My mama just pulled up to the house with her old man. Okay.
Who do you think you are dressing in attire that you feel confident in, regardless on if the article of clothing you wear is revealing, provocative or not? Um, there's still this consensus, this mentality, ideology that a woman or the female vessel is required to cover herself as a means to prevent or to obscure the male gaze from, I don't know, acting upon some deep seated desire of lust or sexual interest. So basically, that it is the female vessel's responsibility to hinder the male from acting upon his own sexual interest. And based upon how a woman decorates or dresses herself, is the determining factor on whether or not she actually respects herself. So if she's got her cleavage out, or if she's dressing in a fashion of which shows off and reveals her body, this is somehow deemed and recognized as a disrespect towards herself, not a freedom of expression. It's what I find bewildering is that regardless of what the attire is, the lack of accountability for one's own choices, saying what you wear, what I wear, is what determines how I'm treated. And I must acquiesce to the surrounding reality. Anytime that there's a male gaze involved, I must cover myself up so as to deter him from acting out his passion. And if I'm sexually assaulted, it becomes my fault. This type of thinking, this type of mentality, and this blaming and the subjecting of the woman's body, her archetype, subjecting her to double standards. Say, for instance, I am innately attracted to men that wear uniform, and I have a deep seated desire to sexually assault them or to sexually harass them. And the fact that they're dressed up in these uniforms makes it that much more of a challenge for me to keep my hands to myself, because how he is dressed only provokes me further to want to sexually degrade him for my own sexual gratification. And it's just the fact that he's got this attire on that makes him that much more alluring. So as a self-respect for himself, he shouldn't wear a uniform. He should maybe wear, I don't know, a tutu, a bikini. You see how that goes? I'm attracted to him. And what he's wearing is the reason why I did whatever I felt like doing to him in a sexual manner, with or without his consent. To act on it. How dare he have the audacity to wear that uniform? How dare he? He should have known. He should not have been at that place at that time wearing that uniform in that fashion if he didn't want me to sexually defile him. See, he was asking to be victimized and objectified by me because of look at what he's wearing. You see, and when he should know that when I come around, he should be hopping out of that suit immediately, acquiescing to the possibility that I may be a predator entitled to prey on him because of his inviting attire. He's irresistible when he wears that uniform. I cannot help myself. I mean, look, if he didn't want me to sexually harass him, if he didn't want me to objectify him, if he didn't want me to prey on him, he should not have worn that attire. He should have jumped up as soon as he saw my predatory ass and put something on to deter my attraction. How dare he tease me that way? He's not respecting himself, because Any self-respecting man would know better than to wear a uniform that is going to entice me. He instead should be putting on a tutu, putting on the ballerina slippers, and putting on some fruitcake ensemble to deter me from finding him delicious and attractive and appeasing to my eye. Do you see how that works? So instead of deflecting and putting the problem on that one with the uniform on, regardless if the attire reveals anything, that's neither here nor there. When there are certain types of people in certain types of positions making certain sorts of decisions for all these multitudes of people, there is a level of accountability that is innately prescribed to them. And when it comes to individual accountability, regardless of what the woman was wearing, hell, if she was naked, it still does not justify, not make exceptions for his choosing to act in a predatory fashion, knowing full good and well that you're not his wife, so and so is not his wife. He's not doing anything for the benefit. He's being a selfish, depraved fucking predator. And rather than putting the accountability and putting the spotlight where it is, this audacity, and it really fucking offends me when I hear it from females. Like, what the fuck do you mean self-respecting? Bitch, if I'm fucking naked, it doesn't matter. Where is the self-control? Like, I just got done giving you an example. Just because I'm attracted, just because I feel provoked, doesn't give me the incentive and doesn't give me the justification or the what do we call it? Self-righteousness. It doesn't give me a free pass to be a predatory offender, violating somebody. Yeah, he might look good, but that doesn't justify it. Just because you look and you're dressed, it doesn't matter. You have Daisy Dukes on, a fucking thong on, you're topless. It doesn't matter. Self-control. There is no exception making, especially when these statutes and laws are on the book. When you have a justice system that is doing everything but justice, which is helping to endanger people and the lack thereof enforcing of these clear and concise boundaries, rather than putting the responsibility and the shame and the guilt and the blame upon what someone chose to wear, how they were wearing. I'm not, and no woman, and no man, and no boy, nobody needs to be doing a musical chairs with their clothing to hinder somebody from doing what the fuck a civilized adult with a conscience, self-control, and accountability, responsibility ought to be doing.
Young girls, when y'all become teenagers and young adult women like me, anytime an adult male is around or them young males, man, go put some clothes on, man. You get what I'm saying? My mama just pulled up to the house with her old man. Okay, boom. I said, wait a minute, mama. Tell him to stay outside. Let me go put on some pants. I just had on like some little shorts, some little, like volleyball types. I'm just letting y'all know that because a lot of times y'all are not even aware. It's not that that man has a pedophilia spirit on him or anything like that. None like that. It's just that you shouldn't feel comfortable, like as a woman, at some point to be walking around like with the short stuff on, titties out and stuff like that, like how y'all be. And then that don't mean that a person should do something to you. I'm just telling you, at some point, your mindset has to mature to the point of you realizing this ain't the right type of setting for me to be dressed like this. So let me go put on some clothes.